journey, already out the door. Don't know where I'm going, but I'm ready to explore. There will be disappointment and answers I don't know. Yes, there will be trouble, but still I will grow. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek, I will find. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek and I will find. I will sweat and labor and do what it takes. I will help my neighbor and learn from my mistakes. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek, I will find. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek and I will find. I am not a pilgrim searching for a sacred place. Each step along the journey can be filled with love and grace. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek, I will find. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek and I will find. Thought I had all the answers when I was in my youth. Now all I want are good questions that will lead me toward the truth. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek, I will find. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek and I will find. With eyes and ears wide open as the boat leaves the shore, join in the adventure, get ready to explore. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek, I will find. With an open heart and an open mind, I will seek and I will find. I will seek, I will find. I will seek, and I will find. Well, I told some of my former students, who I believe are watching, part of the audience, that doing this in an empty room with all of you around your computers, tuned into YouTube. It's like the old days of doing a radio program. I produce a radio show called Folk Almanac for 26 years and hosted it most of that time, but had different students come and host it, and my daughter Jenny hosted it for a couple of years. So I'm just going to have to imagine you. What's different than radio is you can see me make faces and things like that. Well, a lot of people to thank for making this evening possible, and I'll start with the crew here, with Sarah Craig for giving me the shot, for Joel and Joe and Reese being here with me.
I'm very sorry. We need to stop the stream and get it going again.
Okay.
And I'm just going to make an announcement real quick because there's dropped frames that are happening. I just need to get the settings back up.
All right.
So I just need to say. Hi everybody. I'm very sorry about this. We're going to have to stop the stream for about 30 seconds and get the settings right again and then start the stream back up. So we are going to go dark for about 30 seconds, but hang in there. We're going to be right back, and hopefully the drop frames that you may have been seeing are going to be ironed out. So.
I'm not going anywhere. You can go to the bathroom. Welcome back. I hope you brought yourself a beer or wine, or if you're in a different time zone, maybe breakfast, I'm not sure. This is that strange period of spring. Yes, it really is spring, where there can be snow and black flies in the same day. Now, black fly season, as the old-timers say it, is Mother's Day to Father's Day, plus or minus a few weeks. I can still see my parents putting in the garden at this time of year with a smudge going at the edge of the garden. That's get a nice hot fire going, and then you throw some green grass and leaves on it, and it makes this awful smoke. And you go and stand in the smoke so that every piece of your every piece of fabric that you're wearing and every pore of skin is filled with this nasty smoke. And then you go and work, and you think, oh, the black flies aren't so bad now. And when you think it's worn off, you get a couple of bites, then you go over and stand in the smoke again. So, call this bucket of smudge. Snowbanks melt, geese are on the wing. When spring comes, dandelions bloom and robins sing. When the spring it does come in, the days are longer, short are the nights. It's time to remove the Christmas lights. Oh, springtime has come. Trade the storm window for the screen. When spring comes, don't mow the lawn till at least it's green. When the spring it does come in, you can work all day till the house is clean, or lay in a hammock with a magazine. Oh, springtime has come. You're out in the yard, no coat at all. When spring comes, raking up stuff that you missed last fall. When the spring it does come in, your body aches but the garden's dug, so pour yourself a frosty mug. Oh, springtime has come. The date on the calendar means it's time. When spring comes, but the shadow in February wasn't mine. When the spring it does come in, take your long underwear to the attic in a box. Run naked through the woods on the equinox. Oh, springtime has come. Oh, one more thing before I go. When spring comes, and you bid farewell to the wind and snow. When the spring does come in, you can put your scrapers and shovels away, but wait until the end of May. Oh, springtime has come. What's that I hear? Is it your voice? When spring comes, you can sing along at your own choice. When the spring it does come in, when you sing along, it's much more fun. But it's too late, this song's all done. Oh, springtime has come. I'm going to take you back to 1975, which was quite a year for me and for folk music, my getting involved with it. I got out of the Army in 1975 and came back to the Adirondacks, to the farm where I spent every summer, and then at 12 years old, we moved up for good. It was the farm where my mother was born, my grandfather was born, my great-grandfather was born, and my great-great-grandfather, who came from Ireland, bought land in the town of Minerva for his sons. And when I was a kid, it didn't hit me that much, but as I grew older and heard the stories that my mother would tell, it meant more and more. So I'll come back to 1975, going back to 1973 while I was stationed in Germany. I wrote a song one night, and I would guess this is my first Adirondack song, a song about my grandfather, Harry Wilson. Harry twitched his mustache as he walked along, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and singing a song. He looked at the mountains and he knew he was free. Oh, how I wish that were me. He always did the best that he could. He never forgot the earth was good. Harry helped his father run the farm, kept his own family fed and warm. He'd rise up early during hand time. His will and his back were strong. He always did the best that he could. He never forgot the earth was good. Harry cleared a place by the riverside, made him a castle that broke when he died. I stumbled upon it one day in the woods. When I saw the pieces, I cried. He always did the best that he could. He never forgot the earth was good. With the pieces 4 months at a time, making it reason and trying to make it rhyme. I almost got it together, but then I had to go. Harry, I need you so. He always did the best that he could. He never forgot the earth was good. He always did the best that he could. He never forgot the earth was good. So back to 1975 and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I worked with a surveyor, Bill Brannon, for a year. Applied to grad schools, and met up with a couple of guys, Jim Burns and Gino Damiano, and the three of us played music together. And Gino told me about this collection up at the SUNY Plattsburgh Library. Marjorie Lansing Porter, who had been the Essex County historian, traveled the back roads of Essex County and recorded old-timers, recorded their songs mostly, sometimes some stories. And one of the people she recorded was John Galusha, nicknamed Yankee John Galusha, in Minerva. And I thought, well, that's odd. Here, growing up all this time, and I love folk music, and I sing all these old folk songs. I hadn't written any until Harry. And I thought, how come I've never heard anyone mention the name of John Galusha and all these songs he knew? Well, he had this tremendous repertoire. Some of the songs he learned from working in the lumber camps. Some of the songs he learned from his older brother, who returned from the Civil War and taught him these Civil War ballads. And then other songs came over from Great Britain with his grandparents, and his parents learned them. And Gino said, well, if you like these songs of Yankee John Galusha, you'll love this collection up at Plattsburgh. And one of the songs is about Bert LaFountain. Bert LaFountain's Packard. And you have to understand that this was during Prohibition, and Bert would take his 8-cylinder Packard, and you know, not only were they fast and powerful, but if you took out the back seat, they could carry a lot of booze. So he'd make treks across the border. 'Twas on a Sunday morning I headed for the north, the road I often travel while riding back and forth. Across the old St. Lawrence, headed straight from Montreal, with Bert LaFountain's Packard for a load of alcohol. Oh me, oh my, why are we dry? Bert LaFountain's Packard had a load of alcohol. Well, I loaded her with liquor, stocked her with wine and ale. To get across the border, I knew I must not fail. I was going straight through Merrill, headed for Malone, when word got out ahead of me, 'twas by telephone. Oh me, oh my, what was I? The troopers and immigrationers, to them I paid no heed. I was rolling 80 and putting on the speed. They signaled me with flashlights and ordered me to halt, but I tore right by the customs house with LaFountain's alcohol. Oh me, oh my, why are we dry? Tore right by the customs house with LaFountain's alcohol. I saw the trooper's barrier and a car across the road. I quickly left the wheel, the Packard and the load. It's now I'm out on bail and I know I've lost it all. I'm waiting for my trial, which is to be this fall. Oh me, oh my, why are we dry? I'm waiting for my trial, which is to be this fall. Just one of the hundreds of songs in Marjorie Lansing Porter's collection of Adirondack songs, some out of the lumber camps, but many of them ballads that came from Great Britain. And let's see, Jim Burns, Gino Damiano, and I started playing as the Boatmen, naming ourselves in honor of the 3 men who would ride in a boat and get downstream of a log jam. And now I'm in a group called Jam Crackers, same idea. And Jim was a great fiddler, and he started writing songs. And Jim is still playing all over Vermont. You may, if you go to contra dances and square dances, or if you've ever been to Dance Flurry here in Saratoga, you've probably heard Jim play. And this is a beautiful song that he wrote that's just right for this time of year. Maybe we're a little past maple sugaring time, but called Nothing Sweeter Than Your Love. Well, this girl that I know, I've loved from the start. Her and me not far apart. Her tender voice, it warmed my heart. There's nothing sweeter than your love. There's nothing sweeter than your love. Nothing warmer than a kiss. Your long red hair, it keeps me right here. Nothing sweeter than your love. I've tasted the syrup from the maple tree. I've tasted the honey from the buzzing bees. The price of sugar is way too high for me. There's nothing sweeter than your love. There's nothing sweeter than your love. Nothing warmer than a kiss. Your long red hair keeps me right here. Nothing sweeter than your love. The air is so fresh after a rain. In the spring it turns all things so green. That's when my love for you, girl, begins to sing. Nothing sweeter than your love. There's nothing sweeter than your love. Nothing warmer than a kiss. Your long red hair keeps me right here. There's nothing sweeter than your love. Well, if you want maple syrup, you gotta carry some pails. If you want good honey, you gotta watch it don't get stung. If I get some lovin', I know I'll sweeten up some. There's nothing sweeter than your love. There's nothing sweeter than your love. Nothing warmer than a kiss. Your long red hair will bring me in from anywhere. There's nothing sweeter than your love. From the sublime to the ridiculous. Another song I learned that year was from Cecil Butler. Cecil was a fiddler, played for house dances and square dances, contra dances. He said he played fiddle for 66 years. I met him, he was 89 years old. And he got his fiddle out and played me some tunes. And he did a singing call to the Wabash Cannonball. And then he said, "Do you know the tune the cow died on?" And I wasn't exactly sure what he was asking me. Maybe a song about a cow that died? He said, "No, that was your grandfather's favorite song." I said, "Can you sing it for me?" I said, "Oh, no, I don't remember it." Well, what do you do when you hear from some old-timer that a certain song was your grandfather's favorite? You got to find out what it is. So the first thing I did was ask my mother, and she didn't ring a bell at all. I asked my aunt, and she said, "Well, that's funny. You know, the only time Dad ever sang was when he was milking the cows in the barn." So I thought I hit a dead end, and a few years later, in Fredonia, we used to have these folk weekends at the college lodge. People would come from all over, students, alumni, and we'd have guest artists. John Kirk Dan Duggan, who had been students there, Michael McCreashan Campbell, John McCutcheon, George and Vaughn Ward, Jeff Warner, Jeff Davis. Well, one folk weekend in the middle of Jeff Warner and Jeff Davis's concert, what do you think they sing but the tune the cow died on? And I went up to the Jeffs and I said, where did you learn that? And they said, oh, from this woman in Vermont who grew up in the Adirondacks. So I feel pretty sure that this was my grandfather's favorite song. Farmer John from his work came home one summer's afternoon and sat beneath the maple tree to sing himself a tune. He sang till the cows came running up and around him formed a ring, for never before had Farmer John attempted for to sing. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, so sang Farmer John. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, it's the tune the cow died on. Well, the oldest cow that the farmer had tried to join the song, but she could not strike the melody, though her voice was loud and strong. The farmer laughed till the tears rolled down his cheeks a rosy red. The cow got mad that she could not sing, and so she fell down dead. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, so sang Farmer John. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, it's the tune the cow died on. The farmer had an inquest held to see what ailed the cow. The jury sat, the verdict gave, I mean to tell you now. They said that that cow would be living yet and chewing her cud with glee if Farmer John hadn't sung that song beneath the maple tree. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, so sang Farmer John. Hi, fal-de-ray-do, it's the tune the cow died on. Let that sink in. I knew if I wasn't careful, I would have a session of thank yous that would go on for longer than a couple of songs. So I thought I'd spread them out. I started with this organization right here, Caffè Lena, and the people who make things happen. Some other organizations, the New York Folklore Society, Traditional Arts in upstate New York, up in Canton. St. Lawrence University, that has this wonderful Adirondack semester where students live out in the woods for a semester. Talk about social distancing. Wow, I think they invented it. Who else? Crandall Library, that runs a wonderful series, The Eighth Step, Old Songs, Pick and Sing and Gathering, and Sagamore, Great Camp Sagamore, where I started singing in 1983. And it's a wonderful place to experience the Adirondacks. Different than just going on a camping trip, different than driving through the mountains, different than putting your canoe in the water. It's all those things. I'll get to Sagamore in a second. I want to sing you a song about taking a walk in the woods. The 300-acre farm that I grew up on, you could never tell where our boundary line was. You could never tell the line between civilization and wilderness. So I'd go off in a particular distance. I'd have my compass with me and take a bearing, and I knew if I kept walking that straight line, I'd end up where I wanted to be, a pond or Merrill's Hill or wherever my intention was. And so you might be on a deer trail, might be on an old logging trail, and then it just disappears. And so those things went into the song, and the song was informed by working with Bill Brennan, a wonderful mentor, surveyor, and he'd teach me things like we'd be in the middle of nowhere and he'd notice a lilac bush. And he said, there must be a cellar hole nearby. I'll bet somebody's kitchen window looked out on that. Or you'd see a couple of old apple trees, 100-year-old apple trees, and more than one, and they just happened to be in a line, and you'd start looking for other signs that someone lived there. So before this song, I'd like to share these few words with you from a former poet laureate, Nebraska-born Ted Kooser. This is from his book, Local Wonders. At the corner of an abandoned farmhouse stands an ancient lilac bush, 12-foot-high splash of rough gray canes, rich with a persistent and indomitable green life. Its base, as broad as the trunk of a 100-year-old tree, is a tangle of twisted, cordy wood, matted with dead leaves and interwoven through and through by impetuous little runners. Its bushy crest, covered with fragrant blossoms, is like a small violet cloud tethered to the corner of the old house. And it calls into its cool shade a big circle of grass, fallen clapboards, caving foundation stones. This lilac bush is the figurehead of the ship of this old farm. It breaks the waves of the years, leading the rest of this farmstead into the future, the reluctant, faded buildings washing along towards certain destruction, the wind keening in the rigging of the cedars. As a boy growing up, I used to go walking, cut through the fields, get into the woods, and stumble across what looks like a wood road. Wonder how many have walked here before. When a farmer needed pasture, it was cleared from the woods, but the rest of the time, trees were cut for the cash, and the corduroy roads that carried out timber outlasted the loggers and the horses they drove. Was it so long ago? Folks worked and died for a living, leaving behind all those logging roads, graveyards, old cellar holes. Follow the stone wall and look for an apple tree, maybe a lilac where a kitchen looked out. There are the cellar steps leading right to the root of a birch tree that's growing from an old fireplace. Was it so long ago? Folks worked and died for a living, leaving behind all those logging roads, graveyards, and old cellar holes. One day a dirt road took me away, led to a graveyard under a pine. It told of a time when families were bigger, lives were shorter, ends were harder to meet. Was it so long ago? Folks worked and died for a living, leaving behind all those logging roads, graveyards, and old cellar holes. Now that I'm grown, I still go out walking, cut through the fields, get into the woods, stumble across what looks like a wood road, and wonder how many have walked here before. Was it so long ago? Folks worked and died for a living, leaving behind all those logging roads, graveyards, old cellar holes. Logging roads, graveyards, and old cellar holes. Well, I mentioned Great Camp Sagamore. 1983, I went there to do a program of Adirondack music, and they've never gotten rid of me. I keep coming back and doing programs. There's a Roots and Branches for young folks who like to make this kind of music, and there are workshops a weekend. There are mountain music weeks run through under the auspices of Rhodes Scholar, and then a mountain music weekend, Columbus Day weekend, that's been going on for 30-some years. And even though this year we're all taking a pause in the things we do, and Caffe and Sagamore is taking a pause as well, they have lots of online things you can enjoy, but there won't be any on-site programs till next year. So let's all take advantage of what we can do at home with our families, and what instruments we might learn, or what we might be able to write or share with our friends. My first visit to Sagamore, I ended up writing this song. We all need a place every now and then when we can get away to a favorite spot or a state of mind. And I found a place today. Sagamore, a bit of history. Sagamore, now it's part of me. A home in the woods, a place on the shore, going back to Sagamore. We all need some time every now and then when we can get away to sort out our thoughts, to listen and to learn. I found some time today. Sagamore, a bit of history. Sagamore, now it's part of me. A home in the woods, a place on the shore, going back to Sagamore. We all need some friends to share the good times and bad, who help us on our way. A shoulder to cry on, a pat on the back. I found some friends today. Sagamore, a bit of history. Sagamore, now it's part of me. A home in the woods, a place on the shore, going back to Sagamore, going back to Sagamore. One day I was there at Sagamore for an evening program, and during the day I decided to go up the road to Blue Mountain Lake to the museum, which is now called the Adirondack Experience, but most people know it as the Adirondack Museum. And I was taken with a particular exhibit. It was Noah John Rondo's exhibit, the Hermit of Cold River. They had moved his shanty, his little homemade domicile, out of the woods and brought it into the Adirondack Museum and set it up. And WGY in Schenectady had done some radio interviews with him, so they had his voice coming out of a speaker. So you go up and stand in front of this humble dwelling that was found in the middle of the woods and push a button and listen to him talk about life alone in the woods. Are you keeping track of which pocket I put my capo in? So I came back from the museum, had an evening meal at Sagamore, and then did my program. And as people filtered off and went to their rooms, went to bed, I sat on the porch with refreshed myself with an adult beverage and was just drinking in the silence. And over the lake, Sagamore's on a lake, I heard the voice of a loon. And somehow the combination of having heard John Galouche, the hermit's voice, and this voice of the loon, the two came together in the song. His first day on the crew, walking on snowshoes, bare paws his grandpa had made. He heard the wildwood speak and answered their call, and like magic, he was swept away. Where did he go? Nobody knows. He just took off, walking for miles. But he ended up with more than what he had before, a child at heart, forever wild. Like the voice of the loon that carries its tune, northeast, south, and west, over your land and my land, lowland and highland, a song of the wilderness. From his lean-to at night, he'd see such a sight, above the black mountain so wide. The northern lights danced to a song of the earth, in harmony, forever wild. Like the voice of the loon that carries its tune, northeast, south, and west, over your land and my land, lowland and highland, a song of the wilderness. Like a hot knife through butter, your oars cut the water, making that guideboat just glide. And while lost in the moment, you find the answer, and like the hermit, it's forever wild. We all have a bit of that old hermit. Inside of us there's also a child, with a mind full of wonder, a spirit that's free, and a heart that's forever wild. Like the voice of the loon that carries its tune, northeast, south, and west, over your land and my land, lowland and highland, a song of the wilderness. I'd like to take you to Central Africa right now. Before I do, let me thank all my fellow musicians. Some I've played with, like Jim Burns, Gino Damiano, Bob and Rosemary, Craig Hill, Dan Duggan, Peggy Lynn, John Kirk, Trish Miller, Sarah Milanovic, Ed Lauman, and all the musicians who I don't get a chance to make music with, but who I love, I appreciate, I I watched just like you're watching now when Michael and Tony did their show here on stage. The hills are alive with good music, with good folk here. My Fredonia family, the Newton Street Irregulars. See, we all lived on Newton Street on the odd side, and I think someone gave us that name, and it stuck. Steve Warner, Dick and Carmen Gilman, myself. And another Fredonia family, besides the folk music family, was the communication department at SUNY Fredonia. And I have a huge family. It's like sons and daughters and grandchildren all over the place because of the hundreds of students I had through the years. And I know a few of them are watching tonight. A few of you are watching tonight. Faculty members in the department. One year I went to Central Africa with Ted Schwabe, who was chair of the department at the time, and he had written a USIA grant, United States Information Agency grant, to help countries that were making the transition from socialist dictatorships to capitalist democracies. And they previously had radio stations, a newspaper, and a television station, but they were all run by the government. Imagine how well that works. And they were going into new territory of having privately owned media. And one Sunday afternoon, we were relaxing in between workshops, and I noticed an old couple getting into a rather leaky boat. And I do what any self-respecting songwriter does. I imagined their whole life from that few seconds of watching them get into the boat. And it has a chorus of one word, and that one word is Kuleana. I haven't talked about singing along tonight because you're on the honor system. You have to sing along at home. I trust you. But this is too easy. Kuleana, one word, Swahili for caring for each other. Sun shines bright on Wanza Bay, but rain clouds are coming at midday. There's a boat in the water with a husband and wife. They're fishing for supper, they're fishing for life. Kuleana, Kuleana, Kuleana. She checks the net while he bails the boat. They're humming the same song, note for note. Sometimes they decide where the boat will go, and sometimes they go with the water's flow. Kuleana, 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 Kuleana. They've had their share of joy and pain, They know that nothing grows without rain, so they don't mind the stormy weather. Their umbrella is being together. Cooliana, 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 Cooliana. These two love each other, but don't say so. They care for each other, and they both know. As they row home, the sun's going down. A rainbow greets them in Mwanza town. Cooliana, Cooliana, Cooliana. And at this point, I think Reese has a word or two to say to you.
Joel, can I get my mic up? All right, so I actually have so many things that I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. I'm really not. I'm just going to list all of the places that people have said they're watching from tonight, and I'm sure there are more. And we are so happy that everybody is tuning in, people from all over the world. I'll just go in order. The people from Lake Luzerne, someone's watching from Hong Kong right now. It's tomorrow morning. Brooklyn, up in Ontario, Raquette Lake and Schenectady and Ticonderoga, and some people out in Florida, Seminole and Venice, in South Carolina, Salem, South Carolina. Someone's out in Seattle, and a couple more West Coast folks, Southern California, out near San Francisco as well. Some people out in Utah, and then coming back east, out in Buffalo and Pittsburgh and Hamburg, Saranac Lake. Someone's out in Texas as well. And so people are really just watching from all over.
What a family I have.
Yeah, and everybody is really saying some sweet things about the music tonight. There are some students that wanted to say hello as well. I got them specifically. Ed, class of 87. Jerry, class of 85. Jim, class of 88, watching with his whole family, Jim Raney. Another class of 86 in there. Matt Walsh is actually the person out in Hong Kong. He said first or second year you ever taught, he was in that class.
When I was very green.
And Scott Prince, class of 86, and Greg as well, class of 89. And I'm sure there are a lot more out there too. But yeah, everybody is just really enjoying the music together tonight. A lot of people joining in the chat and brightening some nights for sure. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for watching, and thank you all for your generosity already tonight, using the tip link that's in the bottom left there. I'll send it a few more times the rest of the show, and that gets split 50-50 between Caffè Lena and Dan tonight. And it really, for all these stay-home sessions, it really means so much to the artists that play to have a strong community supporting them through these through the tip link, and it really means a lot for us as well, because these are the only shows we're putting on right now, and it's such a big help to have people, the people that are able to sending in their support. So thank you for doing that as well.
Again, thank you, my family spread far and wide, my Fredonia family, and my real family too, my brother John and his wife Carol, my sister Ann, nieces and nephews all over, my daughter Jenny, who was on this stage just a year ago playing with me on my birthday, and her husband Jim, a couple of Fredonia grads, and Anea and Sonia, and Nancy, who maybe the power is back in Ballston Spa. We lost power just as I was coming over here. Here's a new one. Folks have traveled by land and sea. Folks have traveled by land and sea. Folks have traveled by land and sea. Some enslaved while others free. Some look like you, some look like me. Some look like you, some look like me. Some look like you, some look like me. And they're all seeking opportunity. There's been struggle for many years. There's been struggle for many years. There's been struggle for many years. And the shedding of blood, sweat, and tears. Souls are longing to be fed. Souls are longing to be fed. Souls are longing to be fed. Many hearts are hanging by a thread. Those before us were immigrants too. Those before us were immigrants too. Those before us were immigrants too, searching for a better home for me and you. Folks are traveling by land and sea. Folks are traveling by land and sea. Folks are traveling by land and sea, so their children might someday be free. Every once in a while, I get to work with children. I'm sad to think about how Dan and Peggy and I won't be meeting with some of our favorite elementary children at Indian Lake Central School, and their teacher Kate, and the woman who started Heritage Week, Debbie Starling. For a week, these kids have guest guest storytellers and musicians, people like Bill Smith and Alex Smith, who came and wrote songs with the kids. And one year I was asked if I would help the kids write a song about the fire of 1921, something that happened in their community. Fortunately, this was the last of a series of fires before they built before they had a volunteer fire department. Up until that point, it was a random bucket brigade and batting at the flames with a broom. And you know that old phrase, don't be a wet blanket? People would actually soak blankets and sheets and toss it over the porch roof or the shed or the outhouse or to try to contain the fire and not let the flames continue. So the kids, these are 3rd and 4th graders who were so excited about this topic, the fire that burned half of their village to the ground. Just imagine driving on Route 28 through Indian Lake and half of it is gone. And the kids got up and gave their reports. They got to interview senior citizens who were school children when it happened in 1921. And they'd each get up and read their report, and every time they said something really juicy, something that ought to be in a song, I'd jot it down. Like, it was so hot on one side of the street where the fire was that it peeled the paint on the other side of the street. I said, that's the kind of thing you put in a song. So we put a song together. I went back to Fredonia, worked on the melody and mailed a cassette to the teacher. That gives you an inkling of how long ago this was. And the kids rehearsed with the cassette, and for their spring concert, all the elementary children sang this to their parents and grandparents. Come listen to my story, the truth to you I'll tell, about the fire of 21, when 14 buildings fell, 14 buildings fell. On the 16th of November, snow lay on the ground as children walked to school that day. It was peaceful in the town, peaceful in the town. At Tripp's garage round 8 o'clock, that's where the fire began. A cry went out above the roar. Fire, come lend a hand. Fire, come lend a hand. To save a house or barn, some used wet blankets or wet sheets, while the fire burned so blistering hot. Paint peeled across the street, paint peeled across the street. Flames licked and kicked the dance hall down, the hotel, every room. Firefighters slipped in mud, swinging shovels and brooms, swinging shovels and brooms. Water squeezed from every pump, buckets passed from hand to hand, amidst the smoke and soot and snow. It was more than they had planned, more than they had planned. 5 families now were homeless. How many families more? When someone said to stop the fire, let's sacrifice the store, sacrifice the store. So Nelson St. Marie agreed there was nothing left to lose. Jack Berggren placed the dynamite. Matt Johnson lit the fuse. Matt Johnson lit the fuse. The force of that explosion, I tell to you the truth, sent the shears of Mattie St. Marie into Bill McCain's store roof. Bill McCain's store roof. The spirit of community is what kept the town alive. Neighbors working side by side. That's how Indian Lake survived. Indian Lake survived. I think the reason the kids loved that story and wanted to write a song about it is because of that explosive ending. In case you didn't get it all in that one verse, they put a case of dynamite in the general store and blew it to smithereens because that would eliminate the fuel and the fire would go out, and it worked. And in that explosion, imagine everything in a general store just exploding, going every which way. The owner's wife's sewing scissors ended up stuck in the roof across the street, and they left them there for years so that anytime someone came to Indian Lake, and maybe they were there an hour, maybe they were there for a week, but eventually they would notice scissors stuck in a roof, and what's the deal with that? I said, oh, let me tell you about the fire of 21. Okay, did I put the capo back in the right pocket? Yeah. At beginning of the evening, I sang you a song about my grandfather, Harry. And only in retrospect did I realize it was more than about one person, about a relative of mine. And the line about how he tried to take care of the earth, tried to be good to the earth. And so throughout my songwriting career, I've written songs about the outdoors, nature, the Adirondacks, but also about taking care of the earth. And that's this song, Tip of the Iceberg. Oh, see the land, the beautiful land that was farmed by hand. Now it's machines and modified genes. Where is the beautiful land? Oh, see the floods, the terrible floods, filling homes with mud. Who will pay when they're washed away? Beware the terrible floods. It's the tip of the iceberg. We don't see what doesn't show. Our daughters and sons will be the ones who will know what lies below if the iceberg melts away. Oh, see the stream, once beautiful stream. We used to fish and dream. What once was pure is now a sewer. Where is the beautiful stream? It's the tip of the iceberg. We don't see what doesn't show. Our daughters and sons will be the ones who will know what lies below if the iceberg melts away. Climate change is no surprise. The evidence is right before our eyes. Eat science, not profit-making lies. And above this we will rise. Oh, see the droughts, the terrible droughts. We can't live without. Life is tough when there's not enough. Beware the terrible droughts. It's the tip of the iceberg. We don't see what doesn't show. Our daughters and sons will be the ones who will know what lies below if the iceberg melts away. Granddaughters and sons will be the ones who will know what lies below. Don't let the iceberg melt away. All right, let's get into a nice spring mood, getting into a canoe, a nice lightweight Hornbeck canoe. Pete Hornbeck, Pete and Ann lived about a mile away from our farm on Trout Brook Road. And in the past 20, 30 years or so, a lot of people have driven on Trout Brook Road to see Pete and look at one of his Kevlar boats, now carbon fiber. So light you can pick it up with one hand. And the first time I put mine in the water, it was Trout Brook, which is barely navigable most months of the year, and I put it in, and I got so close this one spring, I got so close to a beaver dam that I could, to a lodge, that I could hear the little ones inside. So, time to get the boat out. one with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe, one with the water, as old as time, and each time it's new. I'm as anxious as ice in the winter, waiting for the big thaw, so I can run like the river again, even when days are raw, as sure as the sap that flows through the trees, as sure as the spirit of spring. I want to be one with the water, and free as a bird on the wing, one with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe, one with the water, as old as time, each time it's new. Care and worry behind me, hope and expectation down the stream. Thoughts are floating like clouds far above, drifting in a distant dream. Then the splash of a beaver tail wakes me, makes me aware of stern and bow. I'm already one with the water, balanced in the here and now. One with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe. One with the water, as old as time, each time it's new, as old as time, each time it's new. Capo, piano. Finger picks, piano. All right, this is where it gets ugly. At a retune the banjo to another key. Someone would say, Dan, now's your chance to tell banjo jokes. That's what they're for, right? To tell while you're tuning. But that makes the tuning take all that much longer. My dad used to say, whenever I would complain or any one of us would complain in the house, fix it or stop complaining, which I think that holds up today. The faucet drips, the faucet drips, the floorboard squeaks, the roof is always leaking. What do you do when you got a loose screw? Fix it or stop complaining. There's a hole in the bucket, there's a hole in the shoe, a hole up in the ozone, there's a hole in the screen, I just got bit. Fix it or stop complaining. Give it your best, Give it your best, get a good grip. Give it more elbow, a little less lip. Ask for help if the job's too big. Fix it or stop complaining. The car's in the ditch, it won't run. The fuel line, it is broken. And the driver wants to buy more gas. Fix it or stop complaining. There's a wolf at the door, licking his chops. A weasel in the hen house. What do you do when the lock is broke? Fix it or stop complaining. Give it your best, get a good grip. Give it more elbow, a little less lip. Ask for help if the job's too big. Fix it or stop complaining. There's too much fat, not enough meat. There's more talk than listening. When a fool's in charge, you put him there. Fix it or stop complaining. There's a crack in the deck, the rudder's gone. The sail, it needs mending. You and I are in the same boat. Let's fix it and stop complaining. The best songwriting advice I ever got was from Pete Seeger, who said, take a song that has been around for a while, people know the melody, and you can put new words to that. He got that lesson from Woody Guthrie, and Woody Guthrie learned that from Joe Hill. So here's a song that Stephen Foster wrote the melody, and I've left the chorus intact, but I've given it some new verses. Let us pause in this moment, take a look around at the distance between rich and poor. Some have lost their direction, others never to be found. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a child who is praying for shelter from the storm and searching the wall for open doors. But each entrance is guarded by ignorance or fear. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around the cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There are families scattered many miles apart, and some dreams have been washed up on the shore. Whether stranger or loved one, we hold them in our hearts. Oh, hard times come again more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. When it feels like we're reaching the end of our rope, when resolve seems to fly right out the door, we will fortify our spirit with faith, love, and hope. Oh, hard times come again. Oh, 'tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again. Oh, many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again. Oh, got another poem for you. This one is by the new, well, not new, last year she was the poet laureate, and this year she is again, Joy Harjo. And I love this poem, and I like to sing it with a song about sitting in your kitchen. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies teethe at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it. We make women. At the table we gossip, recall enemies and ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor falling down selves and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth on this table, and we have prepared our parents for burial here. At this table we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite. Sitting in your kitchen, coffee on the table, talking about the morning and singing a song. There's so much we have to do now, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in your kitchen, hands across the table, looking for some answers in each other's eyes. There's so much we have to find out, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in your kitchen, the cards are on the table. We're gambling for some high stakes, but nothing to lose. There's so much that we could win now, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in my kitchen, your letters on the table, telling what you're up to and how you are. Well, I've got a song to sing you, so I'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in your kitchen, coffee on the table, talking about the morning and singing a song. There's so much we have to do now, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Move on. Move on. Well, this has been a pleasure this evening. It would have been great, but impossible to squeeze all of you into this room, but we'll try it next year.
We have more than twice the capacity watching right now.
More than twice the capacity watching right now that this room can hold. When I celebrated my 70th birthday here last March, and my daughter Jenny flew out from California to perform with me, and no sooner had the show gone up on the schedule, but that it sold out, and Sarah said, would you like to do another one? So we did a matinee, and that sold out as well. And it was a joyous, you couldn't hear yourself think in this room, and now I'm well, I'll leave that be. I can hear myself think, and that's the trouble. And thanks to Joe at the controls over there and Joel at the controls over there, I was able to turn those two concerts into a CD, and was going to have a whole series of CD release concerts this spring. And it's funny, they all disappeared, except this one. So if you would like Dan Berggren in concert, recorded live right here with Jenny Berggren, and then for the big encore, John Kirk, Trish Miller, Dan Duggan, Peggy Lynn, join us at the end. Just go to my website, berggrenfolk.com. I bet you thought you'd go this whole concert and never hear any commercial mention. Well, there it is. Go to my website and you can find Dan Berggren in concert. And I will wrap it up, put the stamps on it, send it to you. To my loved ones and relations, with me in spirit every day, and to neighbors I have not yet met, close to home or far away. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. To my friends who make music, sharing joy both far and wide, and to those who we depend on, to teach, to heal, and to guide. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. To all who hear this message, to stranger and to friend, here's an embrace of music until we meet again. Be safe, be well. You mean the world to me. Be safe, be well. You mean the world to me. Be safe, wash your hands. You mean the world to me. Be safe, stay at home. You mean the world to me. Okay, following regular format, that's my last song. Here's my encore. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll try to make this available so that if you missed a part, you know, during one of those bathroom breaks, or you want to tell a friend, I'll get the link to you. Here's to my St. Lawrence University friends, the Rebert Hall Historical Society, and the Adirondack semester students. With each word that I speak, every answer that I seek, whether I am strong or weak, when I occupy this moment, I occupy this world. Every stumble toward the goal builds the body, mind, and soul. I am part of the whole. When I occupy this moment, I occupy this world. With each step that you take, every second you're awake, lessons learned from mistakes. When you occupy this moment, you occupy this world. Every journey, short or long, with each right that trumps a wrong, you can feel you belong. When you occupy this moment, you occupy this world. With each breath until we die, every question asking why, and each challenge that we try. When we occupy this moment, we occupy this world. Every gift that we bring, each idea that takes wing, every song that we sing. When we occupy this moment, we occupy this world. Every stumble toward the goal builds the body, mind, and soul. I am part of the whole. When I occupy this moment, I occupy this world. When you occupy this moment, you occupy this world. When we occupy this moment, we occupy this world. Thank you. Good night.